Welcome to the Good Buds podcast, the show where good buds smoke good buds and talk about them. I'm Curtis.
I'm Shank.
Hello there.
And this is episode 77, airing Monday, June 6, 2022, on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Thank you so much for joining us.
Today we're going to be talking about retro video games, what they mean to us, and which ones we think should be remade. So aside from that, starting over, how are you buds doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Oh, I had a little thing here. That was the thing I was
Your
trying to do.
space is being invaded.
Ah, I see. It's a joke based on the title of the video game.
That's true.
But yes, retro video games, fantastic, love them. But yeah, I'm doing great today. I'm doing fantastic. Fucking, I got some great weed to smoke. I don't know what else to say. I'm a little tired. I had to work.
That's all right, man. That's all right. And how you doing, Isaac?
Doing A. All right.
All
right.
All right does start with A.
Yeah, A for all right. There you go. That's what
begins with A.
Well, that's fantastic. But obviously, as we always start the episodes, we gotta get things rolling. Gotta get things burning.
Oh yeah,
so,
we gotta get some blazing in.
True.
True. So what I have for us today is I have purple platinum garlic.
Nice.
Very nice indica dominant hybrid. Very green, a little bit of purple to it. Smells garlicky, not very platinum, not very purple. But it's a weird little mixture, but I'm happy to have it.
Nice.
Shank, how about you? What are you going to be burning for the Budz?
This week I'm going to be burning on some farm gas, which is surprisingly enough also an indica hybrid. It's some nice cheesy looking nugs, a little bit orange, a little bit crunchy, a little bit tiny, but they smell fantastic, and I'm looking forward to burning some as well. So
nugs with a tiny butt, I love it.
Yeah, the Budz had something behind their ear there. I just had to grab from them.
God damn it, we're not doing this every week.
Yeah, I'll figure out more and more creative ways to make the joint appear.
Creative, air quotes.
I'm gonna start seriously. I'm gonna start learning magic and just be like, pull it out of my nose and shit.
Well, how about we just enjoy the magic of the actual bud itself? But before I do
that is the most
Isaac,
magic part.
Do you got anything this week? What are you doing?
No.
What are you drinking?
Drinking Harry Palms.
Harry Palmer.
Nice. Harry Palm. The jerkin drink.
The perfect jerkin drink. But for the buds at home who will be partaking, go ahead and grab your bongs, grab your bowls, roll your joints, roll your blunts, fucking get your vapes ready, your rigs ready, whatever your proper edible receptacle medical thing is. Doesn't matter. Or if you have any edibles, you can take those. Doesn't matter. It is time to blaze it. Tok tok shkaboke.
Roke. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh.
Henry Cavill arm cock. Fucking delicious. Fucking delicious. Oh, it's so good. So, like,
I just
obviously,
through an entire bong in one hit, so I need to
roasted through it.
Fuck yeah. Love
So that's good. So obviously, like Curtis was saying, you're smoking. What are you smoking again this week? Forget
purple
that.
platinum garlic.
Yeah, purple platinum garlic. I like that name.
Oh yeah, and you got yourself some ethanol, methane,
Yeah, farm gas.
farm gas.
No,
So,
it's the stuff that comes out of a cow's butt. But
of course.
but no, it's fantastic, man. Honestly.
Absolutely. And normally we would have some strain reviews up on YouTube, but we will get those back going in a week or so here within the next little bit. But
yeah, we'll roll
right
those
now,
out a bit.
just enjoy the weed that we got right now. If you want to see full in-depth picture, head over to our YouTube where I'm showing mine on screen right now. It's pretty dank.
Yeah, mine's pretty much mine's not very impressive. Literally just some crumbs at the bottom of a container now. So
All good.
imagine tiny orange nugs.
But there's some other places where you can go and do some very interesting stuff. Maybe some pictures of these weeds.
Very true, actually. If you buds want to head over to our Instagram page at GoodBudsCurtis, at GoodBudsShank, or at GoodBudsPodcast, you can see all kinds of pictures of the strains that we smoke, interesting behind-the-scenes content, cool promotional pictures that we come up with, and fan art. All kinds of shit. Yeah, it's amazing. So, and also, if you feel like it and you want to have a more direct conversation, you can pop onto our Discord, have some really great conversation about anything. Share some memes, share what you're smoking. We'd love to hear from you, bud.
Oh yeah, and we got notifications going up on there of when we're going live, when we got a whole bunch of other extra stuff, and On top of that, we're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. Good Budz Podcast. Pretty easy to find everywhere.
Everywhere. And links down there too, if you
Absolutely.
want to click
And
down below.
also down there's a little link for this one little weird website. It's called
Mhm.
Patreon.
Weird.
If you want to head over there and donate to help make the show a little bit better, we would greatly appreciate it. Our tiers start as low as $1, and we got something for everybody. Extra behind-the-scenes content, exclusive
I will literally
content.
cry if you donate $1.
You also have the ability to possibly be able to, listen in on the podcast live, interact with us while we're doing our show. Wacky.
Whoa!
But again, that's all the links downstairs below. We would love it so much, and thank you so much to our patrons who already exist, Mr. Benji Bills and Mr. Isaac. See, he's leaving. He's there.
Yeah, he's right here. He's part of the show.
Absolutely. There's one other way you can enjoy our content, and that is Isaac. Where's that at?
Wait. Twitch.
Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
why I
that
wanted
one.
to say Twitter, but Twitch.
And twitch.tv. You can check those links down below for that. We all stream fairly regularly. We all have different kinds of content, so guaranteed you'll find something you like.
Exactly. Or just like us all because, we're cool like that.
Yeah,
But with that
that's what I
being
mean.
said,
Like, guaranteed.
I have another bong packed right here, so I'm going to really quickly blaze it. Shank, you gonna join
Yeah.
me? All right.
I'll take a nice big old fat rip off of this lovely little dude.
And because I forgot to do it the first time, let us blaze it. Tok tok shkabok.
Toke smoke.
I made a cool little graphic for our YouTube videos, and I always forget to use it until I realize it.
I know, and it's gorgeous too.
No. But the main thing, the gorgeousness that we come to know, love, talk about, and everything like that. Retro video games. Basically the basis for any modern video game and all of our love of, everything that we do outside of our normal lives. Video
True.
games. Fucking... So, in terms of retro gaming, I guess really the first thing that we have to talk about is where exactly the line retro gaming really falls into. Because when most people think retro gaming, okay, obviously the NES by now, that's retro. Anything 8-bit, anything created in the 16-bit era, I would consider those, obvious retro games. I think
Yeah.
you guys would fairly agree with that. Basically,
Well, of
anything
course,
that
those
definitely-
are the obvious ones. Like any Atari games or ColecoVision or those
I
kind
would
of.
consider anything but PS2 and below.
You would say anything PS2 and below would be retro?
PS2's been out for over 20 years now, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check
Yeah,
where-
for me, where I draw the line is similar to Isaac. I go based on more of a chronological thing, just like with historical cars. It's more of a if it's older than, like, well, here's the best way to put
25
it.
years.
If the people who played it when they were kids are old enough to potentially apply for a mortgage, it's probably a retro game.
See?
Because retro is referring to like a retroactive time period, right? So it's based on a chronological event. So
No.
if you're looking like 2050, games made now are
Now,
technically going to be retro.
Now, here's the line I would like to just paint for you guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of agreeing with where you guys are at right now. PS2 and below. So that would include original Xbox. That would include, well,
Nintendo 64, honestly.
the game, well, obviously the 64, but the PlayStation 2 came out in 2000. The GameCube and the Xbox, the first generation of Xboxes, came out in 2001. Would you guys
Yeah.
consider the GameCube and the Xbox, considering it's part of the same generation, as retro, or just anything made after?
Yeah.
Before
I'd say
2000?
yeah, because Star Wars Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 were available on the Xbox, right? Like they're so
at
like
this
those
point-
games would definitely be considered.
And
retro.
so at this point, we can all confirmly say that Halo, the first Halo, Combat Evolved, is now a retro game.
Well, that came out on PC in the 90s.
It's true. And yeah, so I mean, so honestly though, I would say though that Halo could probably be considered. Well, that's the thing is, if it's not considered a retro, it should be considered a classic. Which I mean is
So-
similar to like but then again we have to split hairs about what's the difference between a classic and
Right.
retro game.
Because mine,
Because retro games I
So-
think can be any game.
So here's the first. Well, I think a classic is a video game that is from any generation
Iconic.
that has been iconic. For example, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. These are classic, iconic video games, even though they are also retro games. But a classic could also be considered
like Spyro.
You
Crash
could also
Bandicoot.
consider God of War or Bloodborne a classic to certain.
They are,
degrees.
and they are, and yeah,
I would say
you're not
classic
wrong,
is probably like 10 years.
Yeah, and it's probably, and not only that, but I mean,
Like-
something can be like a modern classic. Like you can tell, like if a game comes out, like for
PS3,
example,
Xbox 360 classic.
yeah,
Okay.
like for example,
Now-
when Elden Ring came out, I realized very quickly that while it's a fantastic game and it's amazing, it's not going to be a classic because the way that people talk about it isn't with a reverence. It's with a like, it's with a like we
There-
know this type of game by now. Like Bloodborne is a classic because when and like Dark Souls is a classic because when it came out, people were like, "This is fucking completely new. It shifts the paradigm completely."
Revolutionized, and it kind of formed
Like,
its own standalone
yeah,
game where now people
shifted-
are trying to
yeah.
Actually, it
copycat
wasn't.
that.
It wouldn't
So
be
it's a classic,
technically-
right?
Technically, it might be Bloodborne because Dark Souls 1 and 2 are out in Demon Souls.
Yeah, like
Well,
I think
I
Dark
just
like
said Bloodborne because
which
it's a
came out
classic
which
for
came
me,
out
but yeah.
which
Yeah,
came out
no.
which came out first, Dark Souls or Demon Souls? I think Dark Souls,
Demon
right?
Souls.
Demon Souls
was
came
the
out,
first
yeah.
one that came out.
Yeah,
But
so-
it wasn't
so-
as popular since it was for PS3 only. It wasn't as popular. When
Yeah.
Dark Souls came out, super popular.
Yeah, and those games I would consider classics strictly because of the fact that they had such a cultural impact.
And I
But,
agree
like-
where I don't think Elden Ring will hold that same. I think it's being
Yeah.
super hyped up and talked about and
Oh
propagated
yeah,
now.
it's an amazing game.
either
I mean,
they're
of course
going
it
to
should
come
be
out
talked
with-
about.
They're either going to come out with a new Elden Ring that is way better, that's going to be the classic or the iconic game. Or
Well,
Elden
to
Ring
me-
will be,
To me, it's
But
less
anyway.
of a Godfather. It's less of a Godfather and more of a Marvel movie. They're both really entertaining movies to watch, but one of them is one that in 30 years people talk about, and the other one is one that in 30 years people are going to be like, "Yeah, I think I've got the DVD somewhere."
regardless, we're getting
Godfather is like
sidetracked.
almost.
But retro
Retro
is
games.
any
So-
game.
So, retro game, so far PS2 line. Now, here's my consideration. When I was first growing up playing video games, there was still the term retro video games, and that was
Yeah.
referring to the SNES and the NES at the time when the GameCube was released. So, to me, at first, it seemed like it was your last generation was just the last generation, and then any generation after that was considered retro. Now,
And you're probably not wrong, yeah.
I would consider that the same way if it wasn't for the fact that since PS3, technology has kind of stagnated. Don't get me wrong, graphics, FPS,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of other stuff have definitely increased and everything. But except
But they've
for,
pretty much nailed down the physics engines.
right,
at this
except for
point.
VR, you got your 3D video games. It's no longer polygons. They have textures. They got
Yeah.
rhythm and everything like that. So since PS3, it's not really a huge shift. So
Yeah.
at that point, you can't really say PS3 and down. So
No,
with
you're
that,
not wrong.
I would have to agree with you guys and PS2 and down, which
Yeah.
PlayStation 2, GameCube,
The first Xbox.
and the first Xbox are all the sixth generation of video games.
Another good concept for a retro game would probably be if you look back at it and you laugh at the fact that you used to play games like that, like the graphics like that. Like if you look at it and you're kind of like, "Holy crap, man! I can't believe when I was a kid this is fucking amazing." Like because I can
Okay,
see
now
in
at
30
that-
years when like immersive VR is like the best way to play.
Oh,
Like
every
we'll
video
look back
game
at
is gonna look.
yeah.
at-
We're gonna look at
Shit.
these old flat screen games and be like, I can't believe I used to fucking go like this. Herp derp, herp derp, look at me, mouse and keyboard, herp derp, like
Oh, yeah.
and like
Now,
we're gonna think that's retro as fuck to have like, whoa,
hold
dude,
on,
you have
hold
a
on,
keyboard
hold
on your
one
desk.
second. Does this include TV plug and play games?
Oh
Because
fuck
those
yeah!
blew my mind
Those are
as a
retro
fucking
as
kid
fucking
until
balls,
I actually got a video game system where I'm
Well,
like,
see,
oh
that's-
shit, I can play more than 5 games if I just buy
Yeah.
them.
Like the problem for me when I was a kid, because when I was growing up, the SNES was current when I was a kid. Like it was current.
Okay.
It was the like so like I saw the N64 coming out and the GameCube and the Xbox and all these and I remember when the Xbox came out and the 64 came out, I was like, oh my god, these graphics are insane. And now I look back at them and I'm like, oh, look at the pointy boobs. Like,
yeah.
and it's like, and so like retro games, I feel like are games that like we look back at that are like technology has moved past that
Correct.
and we can do so much better even with the most basic of games.
I agree.
Like Among Us has more complex graphics than even the most basic, like the most complex game from the N64.
The N6, or I mean, basically the NES was basically the video games were built by just drawing pixels. Pixel here, pixel here, pixel here. When player does this, pixels move like this. Otherwise, pixels are moving like this.
Dude, they used to have video, air quotes, video games that were just things you put on your TV screen. And
I
they
was
were
about to say, now, we have to include now at this point, since we are super beyond the technology, that there has to be a terminology dubbed super retro. And this I would consider anything previous NES. Because at least to the NES, you have kids who are like, Mario, Link, kids who are born today who can understand what those concepts are.
There are converters you can buy to make your regular TV work with the NES, but there's no converter that you can...
Nothing will work on... Unless you have a bubble TV, you're not getting a Magnavox to work.
No, what are you going to say, Isaac?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, you've got one?
I had one from a PS2.
That's fucking sick, Doug.
Oh, an AV to HDMI converter.
Yeah, you can get those. Yeah, you can get those converters. But the thing is that like if you have an Atari, you just need to buy an old TV. That's the only option.
I have right here a fucking 4-way AV splitter that hooks into a AV to HDMI converter. So on the TV, I can play my NES, my GameCube, PS2, all that stuff. But yeah, fucking the only thing that does not work on this is my Atari 2600.
Oh.
That does not work on this TV.
And unfortunately, Duck Hunt will no longer work on modern TVs.
I still have the blaster around, like right here, I think. Nope.
Yeah,
right
Duck Hunt doesn't work on modern TVs. Yep. Oh, you had the nice. I had the all orange one.
This one's the orange and gray one.
The
one I originally had when I originally had my NES, and I'll get to that in a second. Also, was all gray.
Nice.
But the NES that I have currently, because like I said, I love retro video games, so I've been trying to rebuild some of my collection from youth, as well as get new stuff. So I have my NES now with that one. I got it from a fucking Salvation Army with a bunch of controllers for $80. And now I have that. I have a joystick controller. I have 2 actual controllers that work. A dog bone controller, all original for the NES. And I have the turbo controller, which is a joystick with cheat buttons.
That's so sweet. Holy shit.
All for $80.
I used to have, for the SNES, I used to have the bazooka, like the SNES bazooka gun, but that thing was the clunkiest. Yeah, it was the clunkiest piece of shit in the world to use.
Didn't it have... I never owned one myself, and none of my friends had one. But didn't it have, like, a bazooka handle, but you had to fire it by clicking it up top?
Yeah, it had, like, handle, but you had to, like, the buttons were up here. And, like, it was just the clunkiest fucking weirdest thing in the world to use. But, it ended up that, I don't know what happened, but the wire broke at some point. So I decided to just take it outside and pretend it was a bazooka while I played with my friend.
Fuck yeah.
And it was awesome for that. It worked really, because when you pulled the trigger, it had that satisfying zapper clink. Yeah, that cling, cling, cling that the zapper does. So it actually made, like, a sound when you pulled the trigger, and it felt like an actual trigger pull, so...
Right, if you just had a little boom before it, then it's like, oh, something just got pulled out of this bitch.
Exactly, right? So, like, it was awesome for
and then you spend the next 10 minutes arguing with your friend. No, you died. No, I shot the rocket launcher at you. You died.
Yeah, I died. I hit you with the rocket. No, you missed. I dodged
I have paladin armor on. We're not playing fantasy. We're playing army guys.
You can't dodge rockets. They're faster than you are.
We're playing the Congo Revolution. We're not playing fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy is next week. Man, we have a schedule. Don't you even go to the clubhouse?
Come on. Anyway.
But anyway,
that's where my NES is.
That's where my NES is. So now that we've pretty well established what retro is to us at least, and Budz, if you have a different opinion, comment down below or get on our Discord. Get on our Discord and be like, hey, this is how I feel about retro games. And we'll be like, fucking sweet, Brad. Thanks for contributing.
Yeah. So I think now would be a good time to talk about, the ones that we had growing up. So, Shank, why don't you go ahead and start, since you were obviously the closest to when these consoles actually came out.
All right. So there is one that I played as a child that would be amazing if it got an update, because there's a game that I think
No,
probably all of us.
not games that you had an update. What?
Okay,
I mean,
what I
just,
did play. Okay.
Yeah, just
But
consoles.
this is
as
just a
young.
game in general, though. Now I owned like this is for I'll go to the Super Nintendo, because when I was a kid, this was new and shiny, and now I can look back on it fondly as a retro game. Like
Right.
I look at them and I'm like, man, these are retro games that I like to play.
You,
So
you had your Super Nintendo growing
Yeah.
up and shit like
so
that.
so Super Nintendo was my favorite jam. Obviously, I started on the NES, just the Nintendo Entertainment System. With that, it's like the usuals: Mario, fucking like just the fucking bullshit Duck Hunt / Mario
That shit
combo.
bullshit,
which
I gotta get into mine.
No, well, no, but I mean, not
I know what you mean,
not that kind of bullshit, but just like the stuff that everybody plays and loves, like
Yeah.
because it's obviously like the Legend of Zelda and
Right.
stuff, and like that kind of thing, like the ones that everybody thinks are amazing and gets you into video games. But when I got to the SNES, that's when I found my like true game love. One of the first ones was fucking Double Dragon. I remember playing Double Dragon on there and being like, this is lit. But then I played one that's a similar vein because my uncle recommended it to me because he was really into games at the time too, which was Fatal Fury.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar concept. Walking through the streets,
beat 'em up.
beating the shit out of people. But like you played as like Hogarth, which is this like big fucking, he's like the mayor of the city or some shit like that, but he's ripped. Do you guys remember the politician from Metal Gear Solid that was like mega jacked, the governor or whatever? It was like that. Like the dude like at the beginning of the game like rips off. Yeah, the dude like rips off his shirt at the beginning of the game and he's like like it's a mix of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Selleck.
I was about to say, yeah, he had that really common
Yeah, he had that
mustache.
Ball and mustache, yeah. And so like going through that
And he
game,
looked
man,
like
like
he eats spam just cooked
oh
over a
totally, just
campfire.
like just straight out of the can, just by the handful, man. Like he didn't even
Popeyes
just
that shit.
didn't even care. Yeah, didn't even care. But yeah, so you played as either him or this other dude, and you were trying to save his daughter.
Right.
And I remember playing through that game and like playing with my friends on co-op, like couch co-op, just sitting there next to each other, like, oh fuck yeah, let's get this guy. Oh yeah, let's get him. But well, we didn't say fuck yeah because I was a kid, but we were like, yeah, let's get him. Oh, let's kick his butt. Yeah, let's kick his butt. Like little Shank going crazy, right? Like little baby Shank going nuts. And so, like those kind of games were like really big to me. So when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time came out, I was like, yes please.
Oh yeah.
Played the shit out of that, and that one did get a modern remake, but we'll touch on that more later.
Right.
But like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, I still love the original, the OG, the like fucking I would play it right now. And then there was the game that changed it all, the game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System that broke records and broke my mind wide open. Michael Jordan: Chaos in the Windy City.
Oh.
Yep,
Oh, no.
that game was fucking bonkers. It was bonkers. I don't even care about sports ball. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I'm not a sports ball guy. I'm a sit on my chair and smoke weed guy. I'm not a sports ball kind of. But everybody knows who Michael Jordan is, and I saw this game when I was in the video rental store, which also rented video games, and I was like, that looks cool. Like got Michael Jordan on the cover and like a flaming basketball and shit, and like I looked at the back cover and it had like different types of basketballs that did different things. One looked like a baseball that you threw it and it came back to you, and I don't know why they didn't do a boomerang, but whatever. Maybe
It's
because
all coming
Michael
back
Jordan
to me.
played. It's all coming back to me. But like they had like ice balls and fireballs and that kind of shit, and you could collect them throughout the levels. And the whole point was for Michael Jordan to like save his teammates from being kidnapped by this fucking scientist who kidnapped them for some fucking reason. like for insert reason here. It was bonkers. This game was fucking back asswards, but it was one of the most entertaining things I did in my childhood to play that game. And just like I rented that game probably 5 or 6 times before my mom was like, okay, I'll buy it. I rented it like 5 or 6 times because like I just loved it so much. I kept renting. She's like, why do you keep getting the same game? Why don't you get it? I was like, I love this game.
I like it.
Yeah, I love this game, you know. So she eventually bought it for me, and like that was like one of my favorite games of all time. But like honestly, man, like the Super Nintendo and like was probably the one that meant the most to me, like growing up. But I still remember the generational changes. So like looking at retro games, like for example, the PlayStation 1, Dino Crisis, another one of my favorite games of all time. Because my stepdad actually, it's highly unethical and illegal, and but anyway, he got me a burnt copy of Dino Crisis for my PlayStation.
I think you mentioned that before that he
I
gave you,
mentioned it. Yeah.
yeah,
The modded PlayStation. And so
and your
basically
super library of games.
my Uber library, like one of those giant CD binders full of fucking just every game that like half of which I never ended up playing because there were just so fucking many of them, and some of them weren't even translated from Japanese. And so fucking like so but anyway, Dino Crisis, like that game right there, because like I never got into Resident Evil very much. I know a lot of my friends were getting into Resident Evil and stuff, right? But around the same time Dino Crisis came out, and I was like blown away by this game. I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like, I was like, there's fucking dinosaurs and I can shoot them and run them, like, and it's like had an exciting story and like an exciting like zones and everything else and that kind of thing. And like I was just like, this is really neat, right? So like those kind of games, like just like those kind of retro games, like the ones that mean the most to me are either ones that I played like in my formative years, like, you know, the Fatal Fury, or like, you know, Final Fight, which was another good one. The Mortal Kombat games, that kind of thing, like for Super Nintendo, all the Super Nintendo like gems, they were probably meant the most to me. So if I had to pick any one system that was the most like formative, aside from PlayStation 2, which made me, or aside from that modded PlayStation 1 that made me love PlayStation and be a permanent lifetime PlayStation fan, because that modded PlayStation immediately made me fall in love. Aside from that system, if I like the one that means the most to me is Super Nintendo, and the one that strikes me as the most retro. The retro I like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But what about you, man? What do you like? What do you?
All right. So, for me, my tale starts a long time ago.
In a galaxy, right fucking here.
Exactly. Current, existing. So back in the day, I used to live in a different place from current. So when I was there, we had neighbors who were down the street, and they were the first kids I knew who had a video game system, and the first time I was introduced to one, because you would see little bits and bobs on TV and stuff, but I barely knew how the TV worked, so I wasn't going to ask for a video game system. Exactly. So when we would go over to their house every once in a while, fucking obviously one of the first things that got brought up was, do you guys want to play video games? My older brother would obviously know what to do, so he went in and he learned pretty quickly, and I would just sit there and watch the TV. So the first couple times I don't remember exactly, but the times I do remember were a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles side-scrolling beat-em-up, and a Power Rangers.
Probably Turtles in Time.
More than likely it was Turtles in Time, and then a Power Rangers side-scrolling beat-em-up. And
Either Power Rangers the movie, or there's another one, and I have both of them on my emulators, but we'll talk more about emulators after.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the movie, because I'm vaguely
that was like the
remember
best
some of
one. That was like one of the best like movie tie-in video games of all
I
time.
vaguely remember stuff from it later. So yeah, I'd see these video games and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And eventually they're like, all right, you can play with us. Cool, all right. So I start playing and I get kind of the hang of it, but obviously older guys are carrying me the whole way.
Yeah.
And this goes on for a couple years until eventually they get a Nintendo 64. And the only game I remember going over and playing was Super Smash Brothers and Donkey Kong 64. Well, they played Donkey Kong 64. We all played Smash Brothers. I was fucking terrible. I did like Kirby because he kept floating back onto the stage.
He could fly forever. Yeah, fuck you. You're not knocking me off.
Exactly. But that was it.
Unless you fuck my HP, unless you fuck up my HP, you're not knocking me off.
I didn't understand that concept as a child, so...
Yeah.
So, of course, at this point, I'm like, okay, video games are interesting. I kind of suck at them, though. It wasn't until we moved and we got our new house and my parents finally decided to get us a system. The first system they got us was a Nintendo Entertainment System. The classic NES. Mind you, this was already, like, 2000. Fucking, you know, the PS2 was out, the PS1 was out, the N64 was out, NES was out. There was a whole bunch of other contending consoles. And they got an NES for super cheap. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is a console. This is video games. I like video games. I want to play.
Fuck yeah.
So when they got it, obviously we had the same classics everybody else did. Mario, Duck Hunt, fucking... we had Ninja Gaiden, which I fucking loved that game. And that was...
Excite Bike?
I did not have Excite Bike.
Oh, no!
Okay, I wasn't too much into racing games. But... we had a hockey game that me and my brother played together, and we would always get into an argument, so my parents had to, like, move that one away, and we never really played it too much together after that.
Banish the game to the dark.
But yeah, Ninja Gaiden, I would say, is the first game that really started giving me a challenge and really making me understand how video games work. Super Mario Brothers, I could do level 1-1. Then when I learned about the warps, you know, it was warp pipes, yada yada. Never actually beat the game, but I never actually cared to as a child.
Yeah.
So, but when Ninja Gaiden came out, the fact that it took me forever just to get past the first level, and the fucking victory I finally felt when I actually did get past that first level, I was like, yes! And then I turned the console off, and I never got that far again until much later in my childhood. So, yeah, just that constant hours just kind of filled me with that, you know, grueling rage of, you know, I can deal with hard video games. I can deal with stuff like that. This is where my love of Dark Souls and Bloodborne and absolutely torturing my ass with video games comes from.
Yeah, and a lot of the weird bedroom stuff too. It explains a lot.
It really does. By the way, happy anniversary, babe.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Yeah, it's my 1 year today.
Oh, nice.
Not,
awesome. Holy
not
fuck.
today, but
Time
on the day
flies.
this comes out.
No, I know what you mean. Time flies. That's awesome.
Damn right. So, from there, we had Legend of Zelda. My friend brought over Friday the 13th one time, and
Nice.
I was really into the lore of that, so, you know, I really loved that game, even though it was absolute shit and bullshit now that I know as an adult. But yeah. So SNES, or the NES was very big for me until 2005. Or a couple years after it actually came out. Or no,
The year of our
2004.
Lord, 2005.
2004.
2004.
It was Christmas of 2004, and my aunt finally got us a GameCube. Not like my aunt finally got us one, but finally we got a GameCube.
Oh, I was gonna
Thankfully,
say,
it
was
from
your
my
aunt like teasing you for like, I'm gonna get you, maybe I'm
She
gonna get you a
surprised us.
GameCube, maybe not.
No, she surprised us on Christmas with a GameCube, and I was super fucking thankful because that really, you know, spread my
Mhm.
love of video games even further. I now had a
Well, the
console in
GameCube
my
was a
house
ballin'
that
system.
kind of newer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a good
So
system.
the unfortunate part is once we got that, about 2 weeks later, my parents ended up selling our NES. They're like, you have a new
Aw.
system now, you don't need, you know, the old one. And I'm sitting
That's not
there like,
true.
boo. I only have
That's
like
not
3
true.
games for the GameCube right now. And we only
Yeah.
go to Blockbuster once a month.
That's not true. That's like me selling your old shoes because you got a new pair.
Hey, you still need those for occasions.
Yeah, you might. It's like I'm not gonna sell your work boots because you bought a pair of running shoes.
Exactly. So, yeah.
You know. But parents don't get it either. It took my mom until like now to understand that you can't pause video online games. Like with she didn't get it with me, but she gets it with my son.
That makes sense. So yeah, when we did have this GameCube, well, I still have the GameCube. It's part of my collection now. I'll get to that in a second. But with the GameCube, we got a special edition that came with a collector's edition Legend of Zelda disc. At the time, I didn't realize anything about it. I'm like, oh, cool, 4 games that I can play. You know, the original, the second Legend of Zelda for NES. Then you got Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and you got a 20-minute demo for Wind Waker, which was coming out at the time.
It was on that day that young Curtis's life was changed forever.
Exactly. So, fucking, with that, I absolutely fell in love with Legend of Zelda. Completely infatuated. Fucking, I have Hyrule Historia, the Encyclopedia. I play the game regularly, like once a year now.
Yeah,
on new console or some new way that comes out.
This
have the
man's plays
randomizer now.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say this man's actually goes through randomizer plays and like enjoys it.
I fucking love it. I make it as difficult as I can because I've played the game so much. I need it to be challenging and different. I
Yeah.
need a new path. If it's just the same path, I'm pretty sure I'm at the point where if I got into a serious accident and I went blind, it would take me a couple weeks, but I'd be able to get through Legend of Zelda, at least the main story.
Stream idea: blindfolded playthrough of Legend of Zelda.
Ooh.
I would like to if it wasn't for the fact that there was already a person who was blind who did make it through Legend of Zelda, and because of that, I commend his efforts, and I would have to do the same thing, but only if I was blind.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
I'm not going to tarnish his
That's
name.
true.
Um,
I don't think. I guess yeah.
It doesn't
see
really.
where you're-
I know there's people who do it, but the
I can see where you're coming. I can see where you're coming from though.
But regardless, so yeah, Legend of Zelda, fucking absolutely fell in love from there. Played that consistently, and that was actually one of the games that me and my dad played together. Surprisingly, my dad would come home every once in a while and be like, "I really want to play Majora's Mask." So he would play Majora's Mask, and then right after he'd get off, I would play Ocarina of Time. And, it was cool, because we also had the guidebook for it. So if he got stuck on something, I would just sit there and rifle through the book like, did you check over here? Did you go over here and do this yet? And I would just read through as much of the book as I can to try to help him out.
And that's how young Curtis learned to read.
Pretty much.
No, that's awesome though, man. That's like a great bonding time and stuff like that, like that kind of thing. And I had a similar experience with it was on computer, but with my stepdad playing Quake. He invited me to LAN party. I think I talked about it before briefly on the podcast as well, that he invited me to a LAN party he used to have with his work friends, where they'd all get together on a LAN party on the work computers and play Quake.
Right.
And he would invite me every, like, when I was younger before he shifted jobs, but he would invite me every, like, a couple weeks or so whenever they got together to do that, to go in with them and like play video games and stuff. And it was a lot of fun, man. And like it was a good bonding experience for me and my stepdad. We'd be playing team deathmatch and that kind of thing. And it was nice.
So, yeah, the GameCube we had we still had, but we had it for about 2 or 3 years until my parents finally decided to get us a PS2. At that time, the PS2 Slim had come out, so they got us one of those. Actually, it was fuck. I might be getting my timelines mixed up because it was the same year PS3 came out is when we got the PS2.
Yeah.
Which, even then, we were still excited because now we had a DVD player. We had fucking a whole bunch of new games.
Yeah, you can play music on that bitch.
There was so much activities that we could do. So, my brother pretty much took the PS2. I pretty much took the GameCube. I got to play the PS2 every once in a while, and I fell in love with, like, Jak and Daxter, Soul Calibur. I know it was on GameCube, but the version on PS2 just played better.
Yeah, it slapped.
Jak and Daxter wasn't on GameCube.
It was on PS2.
No, it was on PS2.
I thought you was talking about both games.
No.
Just,
Yeah, Jak and Daxter Jak and Daxter? It's still exclusive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, still
Yeah.
exclusive. So yeah. With all this, it kind of just shaped me from there. And then I was pretty much dormant on video games until I finally got a job and was able to afford my PS3, then PS4, then PS5. Well, PS4 was a gift, but PS5 I bought. And now I have my awesome collection of video games that I have retrieved from over the many years. I have my Atari 2600 as mentioned previous. I have my GameCube still. I now have an N64, which I got from a Goodwill for $30 with Ocarina of Time in it. Fucking
Good deal.
fantastic. I got an NES, as mentioned previously, from Salvation Army, and I've pretty much gotten my entire NES library from when I was a child back, including The Little Mermaid. Needed
Balling
that one.
game.
Fuck it.
Balling game.
It surprisingly is, and the NES rendition of Under the Sea is fantastic. So I got that.
Life is much wetter.
I still got my PS2, my PS3, PS4, my PS5, and I have an SNES Mini, one of those little USB consoles that they sold. I got that before I got my Switch, so I'm like, okay, that'll be cool. Then I got the Switch, which has virtual console on it.
Yeah, a virtual version of the same damn thing.
But that kind of runs back to emulators, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So before any of that, Isaac, how about you? How about your starting video game origins?
Like you guys, I didn't start on Nintendo. Yeah, if we want to be Well, I was introduced into video games back on OG Xbox when my father was around because he had one, but I was never allowed to touch it.
What a
Put-
dick.
You put a finger on it, corner. Get in the corner.
I'm taking your Xbox to the corner with me.
But yeah, no, I didn't get my first console until like maybe a year or so later when he went to go get milk and never came back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Was a PS1, and I didn't really have much. Did have OG Crash Bandicoot and Road Rage. I fucking loved Road Rage.
Road Rage is
Always.
sick.
But they kind of ruined it with the newer one.
Oh yeah, the
But-
new one's not the same.
No, it's not the same at all. If they could go back and take that one and make it better, like graphic wise, then I'll be up for it.
Full fuck game.
And I mean, I did watch a little bit of gameplay of the first Resident Evil game, but sometimes though, it scared the shit out of me because I'm like fucking 4 or 5 years old.
Of course.
Yep.
I didn't start getting into horror movies until like 6, 7 years old, but that's another thing.
Yep.
But
No,
yeah,
it's-
I didn't have much for the PS1 because I don't know. The money was always tight with my household. Money was extremely tight sometimes.
Yeah.
Then then I eventually got a PS2. Don't remember what year it was. But for the PS2 though, actually, in between the PS2 and the PS1, I would go to my cousins. You guys met him.
Right.
Yep.
Both of them. They had the GameCube and an OG Xbox.
Hell yeah.
And there's a few games I would love to see get updated graphics, remasters, and whatnot. And one of those is Dr. Muto.
Dr. Muto?
Dr. Muto. It's a little fun.
I don't think
It's
I
a-
don't think I've heard of Dr. Muto.
It came out in 2002, the same year as the GameCube did. Came out for Xbox, PlayStation, GameCube.
Oh, is that the one where you get to play as a proctologist and you
No, that's
you
Dr.
stick-
Budo.
Oh.
No.
okay.
This
I was-
wasn't a rated M game, but it was a fun game. It was like oh god, I can't think of what like the genre of games it would be under, but it played like Jack and Daxter, if I remember correctly.
Kind of a platformer.
Yeah, I wanted to say platformer, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Well, shit, we have internet.
Yeah, you guys have internet, but Dr. Muto is
It's
one of the
a platformer game, yeah.
it's one of the few video game memories I have in the back of my head still.
Oh,
Like that.
okay.
I've barely played, but had a fucking blast playing.
Plot. The plot is Dr. Muto, a mad scientist, built a machine that would provide free renewable energy for his home planet of Midway. Oh, they actually named the planet Midway. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
However, the machine was sabotaged by Muto's rival, Professor Bernadal. His name is Professor Bernadal. I like this dude already. Causing it to malfunction and destroy the planet. Dr. Muto and his laboratory survive. Now, Dr. Muto plans to build a machine called the Genitor 9000. That's very close to genital. That will rebuild Midway. However, the pieces necessary to assemble run the machine are scattered across a number of neighboring planets and must be collected. There are 4,250 isotopes and 86 bits of Terra to collect in all. However, due to design issues, some of the game's isotopes are nearly impossible to collect, and only 80% of the isotopes are required to complete the game.
Damn. That's fucked up.
So I guess it's super challenging.
It was a super
would
fun
be
game.
pissed
Dude.
if there was a completion game that I can't fully complete.
Dude, you use a spliz gun.
Oh my. What rating is this?
That's what I'm saying, bro.
It's a fun game, man.
Jesus Christ.
Don't knock it.
Looks baller, actually, honestly. Not gonna lie.
Ed Log is the guy who fucking created it. The design.
Yeah, I don't know
No.
if it's gonna be a real thing or like it'll come remake or whatnot because I think Midway is out of business.
No. Well, they kind
Okay,
of
don't
just
play the OG version.
Well,
Midway became NetherRealm for the most part.
well because they did Mortal Kombat, but they didn't really do Mortal Kombat anymore. I don't think.
No, like I said, most of Midway turned to NetherRealm, and just went strictly
Who knows?
Mortal Kombat.
Who knows where those rights went to that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably floating off in the ether.
It's
Wherever,
an old
whoever,
game.
yeah.
A forgettable old
Probably
game.
Activision owns them.
Someone bought it
Yeah.
from insolvency, but yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one of the things that I may look to see if I can.
You could probably emulate it.
So
Yeah.
if we're talking about games that we would like remade, Isaac, I think there's another one that definitely would go on your list.
Wouldn't?
Would.
Oh. And that is.
It's a particular bum bum bum.
Oh, Hit and Run, of course.
Absolutely.
Hit and Run are always that's on the top of the list, but that's also one of my retrospect games I love. I still have that one to this day complete.
Actually, I downloaded an emulator for The Simpsons that I'll talk about, like when we're talking about emulators a little bit more. But that would be so cool if The Simpsons Hit and Run got a remaster, like remake. Oh my god!
Now I know that there is a fan work in progress to remake the entire game in. It was either in Dream or in Unity. I can't remember.
It was in Dream.
It was in Dream.
I played a little bit of it. They got all the way up to like they didn't
Like the first level,
like
at least, or...
quickie. No, they got up to the
Okay,
quickie mark. They
That's
didn't
good.
get far when that came out. But I have no idea if they're still doing it or not, so who knows. But going back to the GameCube,
Yeah.
another game I barely played but had a lot of fun that probably would not go by today's standards is a game called Roadkill.
Oh my god, yeah. I remember
I
Roadkill.
vaguely remember Roadkill.
I had fun playing that as a kid, dude. I don't know why.
Oh
it was
my God.
fun.
Yeah, it was because it was one of those mindlessly kind of violent, fun driving games. And you're a fan of cars and stuff anyway, right? You like vehicles, like you like, and like I'm like you've always enjoyed like more like not particularly, but like you enjoy racing games and that kind of thing as well. So like I could see that kind of game, like the air quotes death race kind of game, being
I mean,
something that you.
I mean,
I
you
don't-
were excited when they remastered Burnout Paradise.
True.
True. Now, if they
That's what
remake
you're saying.
Burnout 3. But go ahead, Isaac. What were you saying?
I don't remember much of this game. I just
Yeah.
remember name is called Roadkill. And
Yeah.
you would go around. It was basically fucking Twisted Metal, but more violent.
More?
I would say more
Surprising.
violent.
Well, because
Yeah.
Twisted Metal was
You
didn't have-
Twisted
you
Metal was psychopath versus psychopath.
Yeah, you were in car. It was like a death race where you were
Hitting people.
just going hitting people and that. But Roadkill was almost like that, but instead of like in arenas, you were out in fucking public streets and you can run over just
It
pedestrians.
was just the
So
road.
early GTA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, speaking of which,
Right.
early GTA is also one of those games. GTA 1 and 2, those top-down versions of GTA, were the first versions of GTA I ever played. They were
Hey.
like I like
Don't care for
when
them.
when GTA 3 came out, I was like, what the fuck? This is amazing. Holy shit. All you had to do was follow the train in San Andreas. Blew my fucking gourd.
San
it's in my
Andreas was the
retrospect.
first, my
Like-
first foray into it, and
San Andreas wasn't mine, but
I remember those janky ass top down fucking
mine
like
was Vice City.
OP tank like
Yeah.
version of GTA, you know? Like, and that game was like still fun as fuck. And that game is retro as fuck too.
I didn't care for them, but
Yeah. Well, they're totally fucking broken.
a game my cousins also introduced me into in between my PS2 and PS1 time was The Punisher.
Oh my god, dude, yes.
I fucking love the Punisher's game.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
got
You were
it
saying
on
you were gonna
disc,
try to
got it
replay that at some point, weren't you?
I got it on disc right here behind me. My
Yay.
shelves.
hell yeah.
I only have PlayStation games. I don't have any of the Nintendo stuff. Like that's not me. I'm PlayStation. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
PlayStation all the way.
In the other room, I just got like a complete fucking shrine
Trying.
of like PlayStation shit.
Nice.
But yeah, The
That's
Punisher, love it.
Okay.
And
It'd be sick if you fucking replay that
Another-
at some point, man. Like play.
No,
through the
I
Punisher.
have it downloaded on my PC.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
so now if we're gonna be talking about games that need to be remastered, I got a couple.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I'll start.
The Punisher, yes.
But the Punisher, yes. I'll start a little bit further back. Fucking NES era, which obviously they can now do in like a 3D animation style with a top down, and it would still look cool. Or they could even update the graphics and it would still look cool. Obviously with Super Mario Maker and shit like that. So a lot of those games are pretty much covered. Fucking tip of my tongue. Shit. Okay, pass NES. So SNE. Pass on that. Okay, so N64. N64 games that could be remastered pretty well.
GoldenEye.
Okay.
GoldenEye is one. But
Actually, there was that project that people were working on to recreate GoldenEye in UE4, and I think they got sued to oblivion.
makes sense. Now, here's the thing. I like the idea of GoldenEye, but what if it was either a package deal or they remastered instead Nightfire?
It would have to be a package deal because I would take GoldenEye over Nightfire,
Nope.
but if they included Nightfire and GoldenEye, I'd take them both.
Nope.
I played way more hours than GoldenEye, man. Way more hours. Me and my friends,
Well,
like
yeah,
on
'cause you're
fucking. Well, yeah, but me and my friends running around, fucking like slapping, like slappers
Nope.
only, fucking running around, like oh my god.
GoldenEye's on my retrospect list as well. Or not GoldenEye, fucking Nightfire.
But let's be real here. Fucking if
I would take Nightfire though if they remastered Nightfire, 100%.
Nightfire
Like I
would
wouldn't
be-
say no to it.
I would pay pre-order prices.
Oh yeah, same. But I think fucking Nightfire would be fucking fantastic to bring back the story. Or I think they could combine GoldenEye. I'm pretty sure the stories match up on those ones. Where GoldenEye could go right into Nightfire.
Yeah.
Ah, shit, I don't got
I
any
think
more
we can all
007
Just do the
games.
remaster package. Come on, whoever
think-
out there owns the rights to this, get the fuck on it.
But I think we can all agree that after the N64 days, fucking the best 007 was Nightfire, and then that was.
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much it.
yeah, 100%.
Newer age, I like Quantum of Solace, but Nightfire is on top of the list, though.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't really played any of the new age.
Well, Quantum of Solace is literally a third-person 007 game.
Yeah.
They
But
tried
I
Daniel-
mean,
that-
With
they
Daniel
tried
Craig.
that in
there's
one
something
of them,
about there's something about Pierce Brosnan that just makes my nipples perky though, so I gotta say GoldenEye
But
and Nightfire.
Quantum of Solace had Daniel Craig, so it's literally those two are like the best
It's also
007s in
Daniel
my
Craig.
opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
well,
and-
you know, what about It's Okay to Hit Women Every Now and Then, Sean Connery.
Not today's standards.
No. And that's why we don't like GoldenEye.
No, it wasn't
No,
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye
He
was
was
Pierce Brosnan.
He was From Russia with Love.
He was and Moonraker, I think. No, that was Dalton, or was that Moore?
I think
Timothy Dalton or
I
Roger
think
Moore?
Sean Connery was only from
Sean Connery,
Russia with Love.
no, he did more than one. But like it was.
Well,
I-
video
I-
game,
First
I
thing,
could think.
Budz, let us know in
Oh,
the comments
yeah.
below. We're too
Yeah,
lazy.
Budz, let us know down below. Yeah, let us know because we don't want to Google that shit.
So yeah,
but
I think
yeah, no-
Nightfire and or GoldenEye, but if they kept package dealed them, I think that would be even better.
And I would consider those to be retro by today's standards. Both of those games. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
Nightfire
consider them
was
to be
GameCube
retro.
Era, so
Yeah, those games are games that I look at and I'm kind of like, we can do better. We can do better on a smart fridge now.
exactly.
I could play Fruit Ninja on my fucking fridge, man.
Yeah, dude.
No, I don't get one of those fridge. I'm broke.
As of right now, the only other game that I can think of that I would take a modern remastering of, and I know that they kind of made one for the PS3, but Sly Cooper. I want that.
Dude,
trilogy.
yeah, that would be so good. Like they already did it for our boy Spyro. They already did it for our boy Crash. They could do it for Sly. Sly deserves it.
Sly really does deserve
Jack
it.
Like
and
Slime.
Daxter deserves it too.
Well, Jack and Daxter did get that newer fucking game that was amazing.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. They got a newer game that was
No,
like,
they didn't. They
Yeah.
haven't got a game since Jack 3.
Ratchet and Clank.
That was
a new
still-
game.
oh, Ratchet
Yeah.
and Clank did. Yeah, you're
That
right.
was PS2. No other Jack and Daxter has came out brand new other than copies on PS2. They came out with like a bundle that you can buy Jack and Daxter that was like
But
brighter, like HD, but
yeah.
same
It's
on the
just
PS4. They literally
just
took
PS2
PS3 for
graphics
it.
on.
Yeah, they just literally took whatever they did for the PS3 version, we took that and just put it on the PS4. They haven't done a single Jack and Daxter game, and they said they're not going to plan on making a new one. Fuck you, Naughty Dog. The
Yeah,
Last of Us
you're-
isn't that important.
And that's the thing. It's Naughty Dog. They already gave up Crash Bandicoot.
Well, and they're that's the thing is they're
They're created by Naughty Dog.
well we already know
They
that
literally gave
like
up the Activision.
well we already know that like fucking they're not like I mean like The Last of Us isn't gonna go anywhere anyway. Like
I don't-
the Last of Us fans abandoned
That's what
that
I'm
ship
saying.
so
that
fast.
shit, like that game is not important. If
No,
if Naughty Dog made a fucking Jack and Daxter game, they
I
would
would so.
make so much fucking money off of it.
Well, that's what they're waiting for. They're probably waiting for the fucking like for the internet to keep out. That's the thing is, all they need to do is like work on the game a little bit, put it on the shelf, and like not do and not do anything with it, and specifically announce that they're not going to do anything with it, so that the internet will freak out and demand it, and then the company can be a super cool company and make this game for them.
If they feel like it.
This game they had no intention to make, when in reality the whole time they were like, yeah, we'll make it, like just not right now, and like you know, just
so
makes them
pull
look good.
So pull a Todd, what's his fucking name from the list?
Yeah, it just
Todd Howard.
Todd
Yeah,
Howard.
we're not gonna do another Fallout game. Fallout 4.
Psych.
Yeah, we're not gonna do another
I swear,
Fallout
we're
game.
done after that. 76.
Fallout 76. Well, it's funny too because
Okay,
because
we
if
won't
you
do any side projects or anything based off of Fallout either. Fallout Shelter.
yeah, I know, right? But I remember there was an interview where somebody like broke down, like this YouTube video where somebody broke down that at the Fallout before the Fallout 76 release, after Fallout 4, Todd Howard had said that they're not planning on working on another Fallout, but the full quote was, "We're not planning on working on another Fallout game, at least not like the other ones, because we feel like the formula has gotten a little bit stale. So we're not working on another Fallout game like those ones."
No,
And
his
that, so
his
people took that
actual-
to mean,
Actually, Shank, his actual quote was just like Kevin Spacey from Advanced Warfare. No, we're not building another Fallout game. We have no intention of doing that. Because we've already made it.
yeah, because we've already made it. Here it is. But basically, yeah. And so, like, essentially, when they made 76, they weren't lying. They did do a different formula. Like, I mean, it's a lot different.
Okay,
than
so
the
like
other- but it was broken as
Anyway.
fuck.
that Jack and Daxter game has been like the man
Yeah.
since PS3 era. So
Yeah. Oh, I know. Unless the rights like are in limbo, then someday it'll probably come around.
I mean, we know that there's a lot of video games that are still in weird limbo that we still would love to have come back
Remake.
to us, but
Remakes are
Dead
all the
Island
rage
2.
now, though.
oh yeah.
Yeah, remakes are all the rage, though, man. Like seriously, like I know that actually fucking one that was
It's very-
remade, like I mentioned.
Very
Oh, go ahead.
very small amount of original content nowadays. But again, obviously, I mean, original video games. It's mainly remakes
movies.
or remastering stories or some shit like that.
And TV shows.
Yeah,
reboots.
exactly. Or
But
based
some
off
of them, some
or
of
based
them
off
songs.
are
one
executed
historical
correctly.
thing that nobody has covered yet, and then
Yeah.
everybody covers that topic for the year, like Vikings
Yeah.
or Egyptians.
Yeah, next.
Oh my
Oh, I
God,
heard
that
next
was
year.
expensive.
I heard next year it's gonna be early Mesopotamian farmers.
Let's go.
Fuck yeah! I am so
Hanging
looking
Pot
forward
City.
to. I'm so looking forward to Younglot in the Kumquat. Oh, it's gonna be such a good show.
Dude, it's gonna be incredible. If I can,
I heard they could-
Quackaweedle.
I heard that they cast Oscar Isaac as a donkey.
I heard that they cast Oscar Isaac and everything.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac is everyone in this new show.
Is everyone in
Clap
New
in the Comcast.
Mesopotamia? Welcome
Yeah.
to 2023.
Minus 2023, that is. Whoa!
BC.
Yeah, the other way. Whoa!
Before COVID.
Yeah, before. Oh my god, fuck. But yeah, like it's like they're gonna like that's so there's very limited original ideas. So they're remaking a lot of shit, and one that did get remade that I mentioned earlier in passing that I'm super stoked about, and I did play and it was stupid fun, was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles
Oh
in
yeah,
Time.
no, they
Oh,
did
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They remade. It was a collection, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. They remade like a bunch of games in like
Like-
that.
yeah.
Still
like
the
era.
same game though.
And it's literally the
Updated
exact
graphics.
exact same game. Well, not only that though, but the controls were substantially better as well, because the controls, they didn't change the physics, but they made it so that the controls were more responsive. Because on the old system, the controls were substantially less responsive. Like you'd have to like mash the buttons to get it to do what you wanted it to do.
Of course.
But when they upgraded it, that may also be the improvement in controller quality as well. Because I was using a modern controller because it was an upgrade of the game, so I was using PS3 controller. I think I played it on.
Right. But it
And
was
so,
fun.
but it was amazing. It was the same game I played when I was a kid, but just substantially prettier and better. And it looked like I imagined it in my head. Like when I thought about the game, and I was like, man, Turtles in Time is so cool. And I like picture the game in my head. I picture this like cool badass scene with like cool badass Ninja Turtles jumping around, and like the enemies are like intimidating and cool and everything else. And then I play the game, and I'm kind of like, it looks like a cheesy cartoon, you know? Like it looks actually like a very pixelated kind of. It looks like the private part of the Japanese porn that you can't see. And so I'm like, and so the remake looked like I imagined it would have looked when I was a kid. You know, it's like seeing it fresh again. You know what I mean?
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, and I think that's us. I mean, those are also solid reasons why most of these companies should be remaking these old classic video games, is strictly for the fact that most of these companies, when they were able to make that game way back in the day, they had one of two companies that they could go with who could even run that game, who they could develop for. Either they could develop it for Genesis and they could release it on there, or they could develop it for NES or SNES and develop or release it there. Or maybe the occasional cross-compatibility where both of them had some version of it, but even then...
And you would see vastly different versions of the game, too. Like, the Sega and the Nintendo would have two of the games, and they'd be marketed the same. They'd have the same, like, you know, screenshots, but then you'd play them, and the levels would be set up different. The character, like, they'd remove entire scenes from one or the other.
I remember watching Angry Video Game Nerd, and there were two specific ones that stuck out to me that did that. One was a Spider-Man game where on the NES version, it was, or SNES version, it was alright, but on the fucking Genesis, super great, fucking way better soundtrack and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the other one was Home Alone, surprisingly. Again, on SNES, 16-bit, you know, you can kind of make out his face and everything like that, but it was still blocky and shit like that. Then you move over to Genesis, you basically get like a clear picture of his face. He's jumping up, doing all these full animations with full soundtrack and shit.
Yeah.
Like they're
like, so it's like actually
games,
like
but
legit looking.
But back to what I was saying. Yeah, you basically had one of two companies you could make your game for, and then they would get some of the money, and then you would get percentage of the money, and then yada yada yada. Now we're at the point of technology where they could easily develop this game for any console or PC, and it would still run fucking flawlessly now if they even just did have an upgrade to it.
Yeah, because the limitations they had, what games I think deserve to be remade are the games that they were fantastic and amazing games at the time, but you can tell that they were hindered by limitation.
The Punisher.
The Punisher is a great example because they were limited so much in that game for like the kills you could do and like the physics engines and everything else. But they had a great story to tell, you know?
Fun fact for people who don't know, the Punisher. Fun fact for other people who don't know, there is two other ratings other than E, T, and M. There's E, or no, there's was it C, children,
Right.
or is it like CE, children and everyone?
Yeah,
and that's like
super young. Like
that's like Dora.
Babies.
Back in the
like
day. Back in the
Dora
day,
and the
I
Crystal
actually
Kingdom.
had one, which was a strawberry shortcake game, because my little sister, or my older sister, I should say, played like strawberry shortcake, and she also played the PS2.
Baller.
But that game was CA, and then there's also AO, which is adults only. And the Punisher originally got that rating, which also means if your game is rated AO, you are not allowed to sell it, or stores are not allowed to sell it. You cannot go to a store and buy it. They would have to go on a website of your saying, you know, the game company who made the game would have to sell it themselves. And it was only PC games. You couldn't; those games got denied instantly for console.
Yeah.
So what they did was they went back. They didn't take anything out. They just made some of the gruesome kills black and white.
That's all you gotta do.
Same thing they did with Manhunt, the first Manhunt game.
Actually, in Manhunt, they took some of. In the first one, second one, they took a lot of shit out.
Oh yeah, the second one they took shit out. But
it took them a year to finally say.
Yeah, for the first one though, they basically they had to make scenes black and white so that it would get approved.
See, it seems like that is a common trope because that's also what saved the first volume of Kill Bill.
Actually, I thought that they made it go black and white because they ran out of fake blood, so they had to use something that was a different color but just as convincing on black and white film.
Combination of that, and also they didn't want to fucking...
Yeah.
Oh, it was just Quentin Tarantino being Quentin Tarantino.
Or it was just Quentin Tarantino snorting too much cocaine that day and everything went white.
Quentin Tarantino just being Quentin Tarantino, like I said.
Let's believe the bloody one.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong though. And it's funny because I forget what it was. I think it was Trey Parker and Matt Stone for the Team America movie. They got requested a whole bunch of scenes to be cut from the movie. So what they did is they went and they added more that were even more graphic.
Like the sex
And then
scene.
they said, yeah, for the and they submitted it. And so the production heads demanded that they remove those scenes, so they removed those scenes and submitted it for approval again, and it got approved without them removing any of the original content that they wanted cut. Because they had grossed them out well past that point, that no longer seemed gross to them.
Exactly. At that point, they're just like...
They're like puppet shitting on another puppet? Whatever.
Yeah, okay, fine.
It is what it is. But anyway, I'm sorry, but back to the retro games though. I think that
I want to go back to puppet shitting on puppets.
Yeah, I want to talk about puppets.
I know.
Can we pause on the shitting on puppets for a minute here for a second?
Fine. And catch my live stream later.
Yes, only Flan.
Fansly.
But basically, I think that those games that deserve to be remade, like the ones that we can legitimately all unanimously agree deserve to be remade, are the ones that you're like, man, that's fucking great, and like the Punisher, but you're like, okay, this is you can clearly tell this game would have been 1,000 times better had they been able to have access to the technology we have now.
Absolutely.
And so those games deserve to get a remake.
And run.
Yeah.
A real remake of GTA San Andreas.
Now
That'd be amazing.
Now that's the other thing. Do we really want to say remake, or do we want remastering?
Well, there's a difference.
Exactly.
A game that already has good controls and good physics and good design, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, because that game was already well designed. It had very limited to no bugs. Literally all you need to do is it's like a car that has a perfectly good working engine. You don't need to fucking swap the engine, just repaint it if it
Not
looks
many
like
games are also remade.
Just repaint it because it just looks ugly, and you can make it
What about
it'll be an
Final
amazing
Fantasy
car if you
VII?
paint it.
That's
Final
like
Fantasy
I'm saying,
VII.
like I was saying, it's one of the rare games that actually
Yeah.
had been remade. A lot
Yeah.
of games are just remastered, which are just updated graphics.
Yeah. And but that's the thing is that, and you've got some that are outliers, like BioShock, like the BioShock remasters or remakes, because they do add a substantial amount to the game. You know what I mean? Basically, they not only do they take the game and fix all the graphics and everything else and that kind of thing, but they also add a lot of different options that weren't available in the original game. They add a lot of different, not necessarily different dialogue, but they add enough to it that it could hypothetically be considered a remake, but a remaster at the same time.
I think it's more or less that they just added a couple of the options that were available on PC to console, like a bunch of extra sliders and options and shit like that.
Well,
And
no,
then
because
used
I
on
have
PC.
both versions on PC, because the original version of BioShock, the options are extremely limited for any of the graphics, the audio, that kind of thing.
They
But
weren't
on the
considered remasters until a recent update that gave them the remastered title. So when those came out, they were just it was just the BioShock trilogy for the PS4, and it
Well,
played.
that's what I mean.
They were the
remade
same
for a
game.
newer system.
They were same game.
Oh yeah, same. But
But then they came out with an update that now, if you look at it, they're actually remastered.
Yeah, exactly, because they do really mostly the most changes to them are basically graphical to make it look better. You know what I mean? For the modern ones, like it's basically graphical, but the options, even though the options are like they substantially improved them for the remake or remaster, like it's still just a remaster ultimately. It's like one of those things where all they changed about the game is they didn't change the physics engine, they didn't change the story, they didn't change anything else. They only changed how it looks, right? So like Final Fantasy VII, like they changed the style of the gameplay completely, right? They went from being like a JRPG style to like more of a third person action JRPG style. The characters, like, you know, they didn't just get a new coat of paint, they're now full 3D models
Exactly.
that are like, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know,
So
so
that's full
so
remake.
So,
yeah, so that's a remake. Yeah, that's like it's like a reboot of a franchise on, you know, for movies or whatever, like the Tom
So-
Holland taken over from Andrew
What-
Garfield.
So most of the games that we're saying we want remastering of, basically.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
games, yes. Some games I would
No,
like to see.
no, yeah, because because like the one I've loved is like so far that I've mentioned is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time, but one that I would like a remake of would be The Suffering. I would like to see
Yeah.
that game remade with current horror fucking like physics engines, like current physics engines and current horror sensibilities, like because they've improved like horror games so much in the time since that game kind of like invented the action horror like direction we're going now. Like, you know, like it's like it didn't invent action horror because that did exist before The Suffering came out. But like the direction, the I can actually fight these scary enemies type of game, like it kind of invented that, like that it's like, you know, more viable to fight them than run. And basically like that game, if they remade that now with like current graphics and like a modern physics engine, and you know, like they modernized like the
That'd be
locations and the locations and everything else, made a bigger map, that kind of thing. Fucking amazing. That would be such a good game.
Alright.
And I would play the shit out of that. And it deserves it too, because it's a game-changing game.
Oh, yeah. Now, most of these games that we've mentioned, you know, now, previous and shit like that, and even some of your favorite games that may have been lost to history or, you know, your console had been sold or whatever, there are still easy ways of getting a hold of them, the easiest way possible without having to spend money and shit like that.
Hold on, let me get my iPad. I can't find it. No, just keep going. Yeah, no.
It's Shank's time of the month.
I was gonna get into pirate mode.
So the best way that we all know of is ROMs and emulators.
Yep.
A very, very fancy fucking technique where essentially you download an emulator online, which is a program that is able to run programs or files that are essentially game files of certain systems and shit like that. Be able to play them on your PC and be able to play all your classic video games depending on where you download them from. Those download files are called ROMs. And with this, and with technology and modern shit like that, they have a fuck ton of them leading all the way up to, I think there's PS3, PS4 ones.
Just PS3 right now.
PS3 is
I don't know.
in the works.
I don't
if
PS3
it's
is no. PS3 is a thing. PS4 is not.
Okay. So PS3 is currently up, running, probably still getting a little bit of work out, and they're still probably updating games for it. But below that, you can pretty much get any game your heart desires.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Hell yeah.
Make sure you do it legally. Wink, wink. Since they're technically illegal.
That's
People
very
it the wrong
true.
way.
Yep.
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 But
They're,
most-
and
a lot of them also lead to some sketchy sites and shit like that. So we're not recommending or condoning or suggesting, you know,
do your
what
research.
sites. or whatever.
Google at your own risk is
Do your own
Google at your
research.
own risk.
But with our experience in this, my first introduction to this was in high school when I first started having flash drives and access to computers very easily, as well as computer-depth friends. And with that, you would hand them an empty flash drive, and they would go home, and they would come back, and things would be on your flash drive. And you're like, I wonder what activity has just occurred.
Yeah. What has happened here?
So then you plug that thumb drive into your computer at school, and you are able to play a fuck ton of NES games and SNES games that were there at the time.
I was that kid. I was that kid that. Instead of putting it on the flash drives, though, the school put like a cloud drive on every single fucking computer in the school.
Right.
So I could just take a flash drive, bring it to school, plug it in, and just drag and drop into that fucking that cloud drive. So every computer had access to play these games, or I would put movies on there.
They did the same thing when I was in. They did the
I
same thing
literally
when I
walked
was in
by
like.
class watching, like, everybody was on a computer watching Deadpool. I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was in high school, they did the same thing, and they put like, because they had removed all the games from all the computers and stuff like that, and some dude, nobody to this day really knows, but someone got the administrator password for the fucking admin login.
Right.
So they went in and they put like a bunch of different games in a hidden file, and we all just basically told each other like, just told each other about like where to go for them or whatever, that kind of thing, right? And fucking like they had like, I think it was like Quake, fucking they had like Oregon Trail. They had like a bunch of stupid ones, like Type of the Dead, that typing game where it's like
typing against zombies and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing, man. Like it was like then that was there for probably like almost a year before they caught on and removed it, but then the next year the dude did the same fucking thing.
That's awesome. To think they would have changed the password, or
like, well, that's the thing is
they need
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure they did, but they just like figured it out again somehow.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me,
but yeah, man,
my high school flash drive, I had multiple of them because multiple people gave me multiple different games and shit. So when I was in 9th grade, my first one was like this flash drive that didn't even hold a gigabyte. It was literally like 723 kilobytes. And I gave it to my friend, and I'm like, hopefully this is enough space. He's like, is there anything on this? I'm like, no. He's like, then there's just enough space. And he plugs it into, or he takes it home, brings it back. I plug it into the computer at school. I have the first 3 Dooms.
Nice, dude.
And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Okay, do I just have them? Click on Doom. Doom just opens up on my computer. I'm like,
yeah, it just loads.
I've never played Doom before. Okay, click. Oh. Turn the volume down. I really should have done that beforehand. Sorry, it was just a pop-up. And then just go back to my desk and Doom. That's fun.
And Doom. No, that's amazing, man. That's fucking great. And Doom's a baller game too, man. Like Doom's such a good game.
Then when I was in 10th grade, I actually had more computer classes and shit like that. And I had one where I was sitting next to this kid, and he's playing SNES games, like fucking Super Mario. He's playing Super Mario Kart. He's playing fucking some baseball game that was like 2042 or 2023 baseball, but it was like robots playing baseball, and it was fucking awesome.
That's fucking sweet.
Still have to figure out what game that was so I can download that emulator. But awesome games. Ended up playing the shit out of them. And then, yeah, as the years went on, I just figured out how to do it myself, collected more, NES, and then eventually on that flash drive, it was my ultimate school survival flash drive because it had SNES games, all 3 Doom games, NES games. It had 1 or 2 GameCube games that were still kind of in beta, so they were kind of working somewhere. I had the Tor browser on there, so I could access the deep web from the school. And I had Minecraft.
Nice, dude.
All on a single
That's fucking
flash
bonkers, dude.
And I lost it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and access the deep web from fucking my school.
Fuck it.
FBI comes to the school.
Better than my house. They would figure it out eventually, but better than my house. I can get out
FBI
of it.
FBI comes to your school. Why was somebody here looking up how to behead 15?
I kept it to drugs. And once porn.
Oh.
Bad idea. So.
Yeah, bad idea. But anyway, Yeah, like that's this. I remember those, like being able to have access to those kind of games, like when you're younger and like just in a time when you're not necessarily, not necessarily allowed to.
I was
Fucking
like,
awesome.
you have any experience with mods in your or emulators in your younger days, other than putting them onto school? Any
Oh, not
stories?
really. Just putting
Combat
them on,
basketball.
just literally putting them on computers, walking by classes that were still in session when I get out, and just look through the window and like, yeah.
Bill Lambier's
You're welcome.
combat basketball.
Bill Lambier's combat basketball. That's the thing.
He was talking baseball.
I said baseball.
Did you say baseball? Okay, hold on.
It's like robots, super 20-something baseball.
But no, I didn't really start doing emulator stuff for myself until I got my computer, which was like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
NG 2020 Super Baseball.
Yes.
No.
Dude, we're
I
2
was
years
just
after
thinking
that.
Dolphin.
I know. We should have definitely had robot.
Where were
baseball.
our? I was gonna say, where the fuck is our robot baseball? Man, this is something I
we
didn't
had
even know I would
COVID,
miss.
so that was even more of an excuse to have robot baseball players.
They missed a
Bullshit.
big opportunity.
Listen.
Bullshit.
They
This
did
has
fill
the Good Bud stamp
Hey,
of bullshit.
wait. They did fill the crowds with stuffed animals, so that was accurate.
And pictures on sticks.
Exactly.
Oh, like the
That's
one
pretty
the one baseball stadium that had oh no, it was a football stadium that had nothing but South Park characters. And it
That's
was-
magnificent.
Colorado,
Yeah.
Denver.
In Denver, Colorado.
But yeah, the other thing with emulators is you can also get, I wouldn't really say they're remasters or updates to the classic games, but they're what's called hacked or modded ones. And these are ones where they can change the skin, and it could be anything.
Anything.
Oh, when it comes to mods, I know
Yeah.
they're mod.
There
They're mod
was
almost every game I
Super
have on my
Mario
PC.
Brother games with some very, very inappropriate skins that I thought were funny as a child that have now realized that they are bad. Very
Yeah.
bad.
I
I
don't
won't go
know.
into detail about them.
Yeah, they are not good.
They're adults. I don't know why they're bad.
It's Super KKK Brothers.
Oh
Yeah.
shit!
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's-
wasn't good.
It was not okay.
It was not okay at all.
If I wanted that, I could just play Mafia 3.
Not okay.
I'm just saying, like they got KKK members in Mafia 3.
They
It's
do, but
okay
you
though,
get-
because you can
but-
kill them.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's okay though because you can punch them in the face as they should be.
Yes. For
They've
anybody
been
who's
Red Dead
offended,
Redemption 2.
for anybody who's offended by the last things we said,
Why are you still here?
put those wherever you'd like. So anyway,
I was gonna say, why are you still here? Like, if you're offended by that,
well, if they are still here, then we greatly appreciate that. And
yeah, click follow and subscribe down there.
absolutely. And we're running a little short on time here because we got a little bit more stuff to do tonight. So
Would you look
I
at that?
am going to pack myself a nice little bong skidoo here.
I only have a little bit of this joint left that I'm gonna blaze, but then I'm immediately afterwards going to take a huge old rip off of this THC cart that I have.
Hell yeah, I also have a THC cart, so we'll do a double blaze. And hopefully, if you are at home joining us, now is a great time to
Aw,
pack your
Dave.
bongs, pack your bowls, roll your joints, roll your blunts, get your vapes ready, your rigs ready, do whatever it is you need to do. Take your edible again if you need to.
Eat more.
Absolutely. It is time, once again, to blaze it. Tok tok kabok.
But you don't gotta join Curtis. You can do my idea I gave you the other time.
Elaborate.
Taking the hit of a joint while you rip a bong.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've done that before. Oh yeah, I need to do it on camera now. Well, good reason for you to stick around next week. Whoa!
Yeah,
wacky.
buds. Or
Oh,
check out his
wait, did you
Instagram
hit
because
your-
he might do it on Insta.
Did you hit
Yeah.
target? Okay, hold on. Wait.
Oh.
It is time to blaze it again. Tok tok kabok.
Don't smoke.
Pinky out. Pinky out. We
Pinky
hit-
out.
Oh,
We hit
yeah.
our weed fancy.
We are refined around here.
We are refined, gentle sires.
Fuck yes. But speaking of refined, all of you buds at home listening and watching right now are refined, and you'll be even more refined if you check out those social links that we've got down below in the description area for you to click on.
Absolutely.
Pointing down.
What?
I was pointing down.
Oh,
Yeah, no one can see it, but he's pointing down.
absolutely. Again, we thank you, buds, so much for listening every time, and this time, and all the time, and smoking with us, and chilling with us. Be sure to hit those descriptions and shit, and we're going to roll one for the road. It is time that we see you next week on the Good Buds Podcast.
Later, buds.
Later.